Welcome to the Tuesday Weekend, our podcast about the restaurant and bar industry. I am Josh Hobson. With me is your bartender for the morning, Nick Parkin. Hi, Nick.
Howdy. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. How were your holidays?
Good. I got out of San Diego down to see the family for a few days, which was nice. Other than that, like we've discussed before, this is the slowest time of year for us in San Diego.
No, fair.
So
Oh, maybe this is the time for me to come down and visit, but
yeah.
we'll see. Well, welcome to season 2 of the Tuesday Weekend, our first episode back from the holidays, and we want to talk about movie and TV portrayals of life in the restaurants. And here, we're not really talking about reality restaurant shows or cooking competitions or even my beloved recipe shows, though absolutely we should do a show about Julia Child, Justin Wilson, Yan Can Cook, all the way through Alton Brown and Uncle Roger. But what are your favorite portrayals? Leave us a comment below. And I don't think we're going to try to tier rank these, but maybe give them a scale of 1 to 5 forks.
Is that 1 to 5? Okay.
Or blenders, 1 to 4. Yeah, the bad ones will give a blender too. Then I will also admit right up top that there are several of these that I have not yet watched myself. And so for those, I really am kind of relying on a combination of the trailer and a couple of YouTube reviews to base my opinion. So if you strongly disagree with our assessments and you think that Cocktail is a great movie that totally stands up to today's standards, let us know. Again, drop us a comment below. And I guess I should have taken the time to order these chronologically, but too late. Oh well. We will start with the movies and get to the TV shows later on. Let's start with The Menu. The Menu is a 2022 American satirical horror thriller film directed by Mark Mylod and written by Seth Reese and Will Tracy, and starring Ralph Fiennes in a very intimidating
chef.
Yes. The point where he claps his hands and the diners snap to attention, kind of.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. Exactly.
That is one of the best parts of the movie. That is one of the most voracious and kind of blood-curdling things of the movie is the entire kitchen staff. Every time they go, yes, chef, there's so much passion in it.
Yes, chef.
On every single thing he asks, regardless of what it is, they're just, yes, chef.
Do you want to give away the plot to this one too much or kind of leave the twist to people who haven't seen it yet?
I think the one big thing about this movie that a lot of people missed was the satirical part.
Sure.
I mean, I went in knowing that there was a pretty largely satirical movie about what was going on, but I really enjoyed the movie a lot.
Oh, sure. I mean, one of the characters that really strikes true is the foodie that is an encyclopedia of food knowledge and can't fry an egg.
Yeah.
You know, he knows everything about food that there is, but is absolutely useless when it comes to cooking on his own.
Then there's also the guest where the couple where the one they've eaten there for all the time and they couldn't name a single dish they've had. And without ruining any part of the movie, this is like a $10,000 a plate restaurant. Sure. Well, there's only like 12 people there, something like that.
And in a very different take, it is reminiscent to me of the big party at the end of Big Night of the jazz musician and all of their completely vapid friends, and the kind of the struggle between the chef, the artist who wants to be true, and well, what he has to encounter.
It's also I would say a parody that I don't think a lot of people noted was a parody of all the cooking shows, just with the way the kitchen and the tables are set up. Watching that one, as soon as they step in, I'm like, okay, this almost looks like Hell's Kitchen season 3.
Yep.
All the cooks are working. The chef's telling you what to do. The sous chef's telling you what to do. And it is also the first movie I've seen that has ever really empowered a host or hostess. Sure, I mean, because the hostess in that, you do exactly what she says. You just do. And she has no compunction whatsoever about just, nope, you're not doing this, and moving you, and you can't sit this way. You can't. I kind of really enjoyed that.
All right, so
but
5 works.
I mean, I just thought it did a great job of showing how people who go to these places, the really nice places that, I mean, I love to go to nice restaurants and I'm there to taste the food and see what they've put together. I'm not the guy who's sitting there like, oh, there's turmeric in it. I'm like, and like just amazed by this flavor combination. I'm just there to enjoy the food, have a great time. So that's why I go out to dine at really nice places like that. That's kind of my day off thing. I mean, once a week I go out, I'll at least have sushi at a place. If not, I'll go to a different restaurant to try a new place. This is pretty much like that, but all these people do this not so much for enjoyment, but just to do it was like, I'm going to go spend all this money to eat because that's what us rich people do. And
Exactly.
it's like
That's
it's
what
like it's
is
like the one.
expected of them, and they don't need to have anything invested in it beyond that.
Now, also without ruining the plot or what is going on, there is basically, say, one fish out of water in the movie, and as a waiter or a bartender and even a chef, you will notice who that is because they give you a few shots and it's like, wait a second, that's not quite right with what's going on here. And that's kind of the whole movie where there's a whole bunch of not quite right.
Sure, sure.
So I
Uh,
mean, they really do give away who and what is going on right at the start.
I actually should go watch it again now, knowing and watch for all of those clues that are seeded all the way along. All right,
Um,
so yeah, let's go ahead and I'm willing to give that a 5 fork review.
oh, absolutely. And I mean, the ending's a little over a top, but still, the five fork review works for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
I mean,
love the movie.
it was written for us. Like,
Yes,
we are on the inside of the joke.
yes.
And at least, as somebody who has spent so many years in a kitchen and dealing with guests and all of that, it just rings true. Sure, it's hyperbole, it's over the top, but it's not false. It's not, it's fiction, but it's real.
I
So,
mean, this kicks back also. So it's for all the restaurant and bar workers, and that's what a lot of actors do to supplement their income when
sure.
they're before they make their huge move and all that. I mean, it almost takes me back to there's a scene in the movie Tootsie, of all things, for a restaurant thing, but Dustin Hoffman in the beginning is working in a restaurant as a server, and his best buddy in the server is like basically a cameo by a very young Bill Murray.
Wow.
And while they're in the kitchen and they're grabbing plates and like this goes to table four, da da da, Bill Murray is in the kitchen eating fries off one of the entree plates, and the chef is like smacking him with the spatula, like stop doing that. And Bill Murray's like, "What? How am I supposed to know what the stuff tastes like if you want me to sell this shit?" And
Yeah,
he's
no,
just eating
it's
fries, and he's doing what every server and bartender's done that I know of. That's been you just go into the back kitchen and get some food and kind of graze a little bit to get some energy to keep going.
sure.
And it's like that's just a little tiny thing, and that's in an Oscar award movie that just nice cameo. You kind of know who the guy is because he was an up and coming comic. He wasn't Bill Murray yet.
Hmm.
He was just a guy in the background, and it's just like that's kind of one of those little throwbacks to what everyone in this industry kind of does before they make it big. And at the same time, for all of us who do this for a living, it's exactly the same thing. But it's no one's going to notice that but a waiter or a bartender or a chef. No one's going to notice because
Right.
on my side, the front of house side, it's like, yeah, free fries. And on the other side, the chefs are like, quit eating my fries. I need those.
Stop eating my exactly. My mise en place is not a nibble platter for you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. This is
So,
good. Yeah, that goes to table seven, Nick. Stop it.
oh geez, one of the restaurants I cooked at in Manhattan, I had some curried candy walnuts as the garnish on a salad that came off of my station. And so I just had the six pan of it sitting there, and that was the server's favorite thing to. In fact, I had one server in particular who would say, "Ooh, look, a baby deer," and just, yeah. So that is who I get that phrase from. I have said that a lot. That's how I distract people is, "Ooh, look, a baby deer." Like,
There.
really? In Lower Manhattan on a Friday night? Sure. Um, all right, but back to it. Let's get to boiling point. And this is one that I have not seen, but everything that I have watched and read about it in preparation of this, I need to see this movie. It is a 2021 British drama directed by Philip Barantini and written by Barantini and James Cummings. It was remarkably, the entire movie is one take,
Yeah.
and they had 2 days before lockdown to get this all done. And so, really, that just absolutely adds to the pressure. But from the reviews, one of the things that this movie really does excellently are small vignettes of the minor characters. Like, they don't spend much time, they don't resolve these stories for you in the frame of the movie, but they give you absolutely clear insights into the pastry chef and her assistant. They don't spend a lot of time there, but oh my gosh, there's a story there that you want to learn more about. Not to mention just the chef himself, who is dealing with a number of pressures, both personally and financially. It's just, yeah, it seems like it is really an excellently written, conceived, and executed movie.
Now, what I've seen of it as well, since I haven't had a chance to watch it either, I really want to watch it now. First off, Stephen Graham is the lead. He's the chef. For those of you out here who don't quite know all of your British actors, Stephen
Yep.
Graham is one of the better British actors around. You might remember him all the way back from Snatch as Jason Statham's sidekick.
Oh, right.
I mean, he was in that, and now when you think about that guy, you're like, oh, that guy's in a lot, and he is in a lot, and he is one of those British actors who plays different characters in different movies, and is very good at all of them.
Yep.
And like you said, there's all these little vignettes when there's these little discussions, little asides and stuff. You get those all the time in restaurants. Like, I'll be behind the bar and then go back in the kitchen. My manager just standing there like, hey, I need to talk to you for a second. It's like, okay, what just happened? And then you have to go and sit down and find out what's going on. And then you receive instruction, usually from the chef. And it's just like, okay, or yes, chef. And then I just turn around and go back to work. And then it's something we will discuss later that night or the next day. But it's something that this is what happened. This is how we're fixing it. We'll talk later.
And that's something, when we get to the bear, something that I think it does phenomenally, like in the kitchen, is just layer pressure upon pressure upon pressure.
Yeah.
Like, the knives are sharp and I need the pot, and you're still barking at me about making spaghetti, and yeah,
And
it's
that's
but
my pot. It's like, that's not your pot.
so my recommendation, without having seen this but just looking at a number of reviews of it, is this will be a 5-4 movie once I have seen it. Go out and watch it.
Yeah,
Go
five
find it.
forks for me pre-rad as well. I mean, just like you, when we started researching all these movies, this one kept popping up,
Right.
and it was always right
Exactly.
near. I'm like, I haven't seen this. This is only 2 years old. Why haven't I even seen this? And then started watching all the trailers and all the preview. I'm like, and the reviews. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I really need to see this. And
Right.
the trailers and the clips that I saw, the acting was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they did a
Absolutely.
great job. And I liked the one where I saw where basically the chef he's the buffer between the owner who's in the restaurant, it seems a lot, and then
Hmm.
the rest of the staff. And I think that's something that gets really overlooked in a lot of restaurants and bars and big like hotels and everything else. Like, I had the owners in the other day, and that's the entire building is walking on eggshells when the owner's there. For us, it doesn't happen very often. It happens once in a
When,
while. But I've worked in places where the owners treat it like a second home, and they're always there.
I've
They're
been in
watching.
both those situations,
Yeah,
yes.
and
Yeah.
when they're there a lot, they're watching everything. I worked in, you'll remember Cicero's in Park City. I ran Cicero's for a while, and the owner of that would just watch the cameras and call me every night and tell me what I should be doing.
Uh,
Like 3, 4 times a night, my phone rings. Like, yeah, what do you want, Steve? Okay, yeah,
not
no, I'm not cutting a bartender because we've got a concert getting out across the street in about 15 minutes. Yes, I can bartend. Yes, that will save you some labor, but our bartenders are making $3 an hour, so I'm not going to pull someone off for. Here, tell you what, I'll give you $15 so they can work 5 hours. That's it.
yeah, there you go.
Here's your $15. You didn't lose that, and then I'm gonna have a bartender happy to make a lot of tips on a slow night.
Well, and the other thing that stuck out with me in kind of watching some of the reviews of Boiling Point is, there's one point where the front of house manager is dealing with the situation at hand and is just getting berated by the uh, by the kitchen staff.
Yeah,
And the front of house manager is very composed and is kind of that very smart, no nonsense kind of woman, who then goes to the bathroom and sends her or leaves her dad a voicemail, just how unhappy she is and nobody likes her, and just how hard it is. And then steps back out. One of the other
yeah,
servers is like, everything okay? And she's like, oh yeah, and goes right back on the floor, because
yeah, Steve.
that again is how it happens.
That
That
is
is, yeah,
that's the screaming in the walk-in moment.
exactly.
That is the screaming in the walk-in moment where it just you need that just to go away. I mean, I always use the excuse of the walk-in that I was really hot because I kind of run hot and it cooled me off, especially working in, summertime Utah, summertime Arizona, summertime Charleston, South Carolina. And just I would go in and just be furious for about 30 seconds and then walk back out and be like, okay. Then this, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. You just don't have time to let it get to you at work. And then after work, you usually drink it away. I'd love to see the after of the boiling point, what they do after work there.
Oh yeah. Okay, so next on my list I have Waiting from 2005, and the description on Wikipedia calls it a black comedy. Okay. But a comedy film written and directed by Rob McKittrick, and there really is kind of a low-key all-star cast going on. It's
Yeah.
a bunch of future all-stars earlier in their career all together. And all right, for those who haven't seen it, it's raunchy. There are plenty of times where they intentionally go for the raunchy joke. And I guess in 2024 now, it's hard to talk about this movie without talking about the penis showing game and how I just don't think that would be included in a movie these days. Okay, I will also say, sure, I saw this 2008, 2009 once, and I haven't seen it again because I mean, I thought parts of it were funny, but overall, yeah, other people got more out of it than I did.
Well, and that's because other people like worked in chain restaurants. It was dead on. I mean,
Sure.
the front of house stuff was dead on. The back of house stuff was dead on. The whole dick game thing and all that. Every restaurant has a game similar to that going on, where the whole staff is kind of playing jokes and stuff. The difference is in this movie. I mean, and lately when I've worked in stuff, there's been a lot of separation in staffs in the last few years. But this shows like back when you worked in a restaurant, you knew everybody, even the people you didn't like, you still hung out with. It's like everybody
Okay.
went to the house party afterwards. Everybody
Well,
showed up. Everybody did their thing.
we'll call it a virtue. I don't know of the ones on this list. I'm not rushing back to watch that one again. And this is going to sound weird. It's kind of that Wayne's World 2 vibe of sure, I watched it and I was amused by it at the time, and there's no need for me to like. I mean, there's just other stuff to watch.
And
Sorry.
I've
Yeah.
watched it a few times. I actually really enjoy the movie. I ended up watching it one night with my mother just because I
Oh,
got off work. She was up and I was staying at their place and like, oh yeah, she's like, have you seen this? And I'm like, yeah. And so we watched it and then she's like, oh, so is that what it's like working in a restaurant? And I'm like, except for when they mess with the food, yeah, pretty much. That's what it's like working in a restaurant every night.
okay. So I'm going to give that 2 forks, and I'm going to allow Nick to give it a different ranking.
Yeah, because I'm giving it 5 because man, that's
He's a
I've
5.
worked in a chain restaurant like that, and I worked in a chain restaurant at that same age group, like in my mid 20s.
Sure,
And
sure.
I think that
And
kind of
I
is
do
the difference in
suppose
seeing it, when you're
I suppose
35,
in
40.
my early and mid 20s like that, I was still well, I was running a sandwich shop and then was in culinary school. But okay, it's time for a break. So we will get back and talk about more bar and restaurant portrayals in movies.